But yeah, it does go back to that history that WWF had with Madison Square Gardens, and this continues this day, I suppose.
Yeah.
That it is really what they call home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, I would have been shocked if they didn't have something where they could pull out that kind of contract. Considering how many. When you think first SummerSlam was there, WrestleMania was there, like all these firsts, they're always at Madison Square Garden. It's got such a big lineage, Then you think of like how far the Triple WF was back then as well, with Vince's dad promoting out in New York. So, it doesn't surprise me that they had that. I just wonder what would have happened had WCW got in there and tried to draw with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair especially. I'm pretty sure they would have definitely got the sellout. I don't doubt that, and I'm sure that's why WWF intervened in all that. So Shawn Michaels and Diesel continue to be cheered in most cities, reports Meltzer, and they are up against none other than the Head Shrinkers, Matt, in all this time whilst they're on the house show circuit. The television commentary seems to hint of an eventual turn back by Owen Hart, although not in the near future. And of course, the face turn and split of Diesel and Shawn Michaels, and they've even teased Doink going with Ted DiBiase. Well, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? So these are the sort of rumours that were kind of going around at the time, but obviously slight ripples that even back then, Matt, that perhaps this whole Shawn Michaels Diesel relationship would come to some kind of climactic end through all this. September 26th now, 1994, and slightly more trouble here for WWF. They're in trouble because of the combination of things, the fallout of things mainly being out of WWF's control, in particular in many markets. Fox Network's NFL deal seems to be a bit of a problem for WWF getting back onto some of these big TV stations because of the amount of money that they're having to pay for the NFL, which WWF are losing out on somewhat. But it's not just WWF, it's also WCW that are having the same kind of problems. Seems like WWF are always in the UK here on these ones, but the 15th and the 9th they're in Aberdeen, Scotland, and this is the match where WWF, the tag team titles are on the line, and Shawn Michaels and Diesel end up they become the champions here against none other than the the Head Shrinkers. What did you make of these two as a tag team, though, Matt? From what you saw around this time, how did you sort of foresee them together? Like, we'd seen them obviously bodyguards and playing that role, but as a tag team, is there good kind of is there a good vibe from these two? Did they have were they good with one another, or do you think this was just sort of thrown together for eventually storyline reasons?
I didn't mind it actually. I thought it was quite a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to have this bond, and they're supposed to actually work together all this time anyway. So why not band them together as a tag team? It makes more sense, and I suppose from a business side as well, it gives Diesel a lot more exposure in the ring as well, and also working with Shawn Michaels is never a bad thing. Yeah,
no doubt about that. This is a really interesting couple of fun facts here to go on to. This is, I don't know what one's worse, but I'll start with poor old Earl Hebner around this time. This is in September, by the way. And Earl Hebner broke his hand in England when Yokozuna fell on it. WWF crowds were much higher, and a lot of people apparently saw the incident and were crying out for an ambulance. Not good news for Earl Hebner when that happens to him, I guess, as a referee, and Yokozuna falls on you, especially around that time.
I would not have liked that to happen to me.
This is I cannot believe this one, Matt, but I may have to do some research on this. I don't have to. I doubt there'd be anything on it, but I couldn't believe it when I read this. Another fiasco took place over the weekend on the Superstars show that airs in Belgium and the Netherlands over Eurosport. The announcer, not sure of his name, reports Meltzer, went crazy on the broadcast and at least 24 times said pro wrestling was fake. God almighty. That the matches were fixed, that the good guys and bad guys were really friends and go out drinking together after matches, and nobody ever really gets hurt. Matt, how the hell does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, what was he on? How could he say this?
Yeah.
He had a proper bee in his bonnet.
Yeah, I guess that did not go down well with the office, and there were some huge problems after that. That's all I can imagine. My God, can't imagine how Vince would have thought after hearing that. That's for sure. Okay. Notes now from the television tapings on the 27th of the 9th here, and it's from the Superstars taping. And Meltzer reports it's largely the Bob Backlund show. Backlund made fun of Shawn Michaels, saying he was against the new generation. Later, he did a chicken wing demonstration with one of the guys, and it's funny because Bob Backlund, Matt. I mean, obviously he was known as an old sort of WWF legend back in the day. He was very much not the character we now know him as. Back then, he was very straight-laced. He was your typical kind of amateur wrestler, I guess, kind of like the Kurt Angle, I suppose, but with zero kind of charisma, I guess, at that point. He was just your basic kind of wrestler. But when he comes back and does this type of stuff in the 90s, Matt, I mean, it takes off like to a whole new level, doesn't it? And this is kind of how a lot of people recognise Bob Backlund now. This whole gimmick, but it's surprising how well he done with it, considering how he was back in the day as just this kind of normal image of a pro wrestler, Matt.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got to admit, my memories of Bob Backlund are exactly of this kind of time.
Yeah.
And this is what I remember about him. You know, the suit, the braces, and all that, and and the way he would conduct himself in this time, and particularly his feud with Bret Hart. This is my fondest memories of the guy, and what I remember most vividly.
Sure. And so yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So yeah, Michaels and Diesel around this time are together, and you know they're doing the good stuff. What else have we got here? Oh, this is interesting. Another fun fact here: Bruno Sammartino was invited to the White House and will be honoured by President Bill Clinton, to believed, on the 29th of the 10th. Quite a big deal there, Matt, then, for Bruno Sammartino, who, of course, had a massive run, the longest reigning WWF champion for back then, or still to this day. But, yeah, quite a feat there for him to get that invite. End of October now, Shawn Michaels breaks his hand on the 14th of the 10th in Baltimore house show. No word how long he'll be out for. But they can't acknowledge it on television for at least 3 more weeks because they pre-taped matches from some of the Action Zone airings. So that I suppose tapings, Matt, they do always serve a huge problem when injuries occur like that, and you cannot keep a consistency to it around this time. Matt, lots of fun facts coming out around this time, I have to say, but this one surprised me quite a lot here. Steven Spielberg, Matt. Sure you didn't expect us to be talking about him on this Tom round.
No, of course I saw that one coming.
Yeah, Spielberg. He's now the film Schindler's List is coming out, and it does not go to cinema, and he kind of wants to release it in a different way, and it was eventually going to go onto a pay-per-view service, Matt, I guess like our version of Box Office. But Spielberg came out and claimed he wasn't going to allow this because he didn't want to be associated with events like pro wrestling. So yeah, he wasn't too fond of wrestling back then. to be associated and going on pay-per-views like wrestling was at the time. So he did not want Schindler's List coming out on that. But I thought I'd throw that one out there. I'm not sure of a time we'll ever hear about stuff like that. Okay, WWF held a press conference on the 27th of the 10th now in Hartford, announcing WrestleMania on the 2nd of the 4th, 1995, of course, as part of the festive surroundings, the special Olympic World Games, which will be... so it's interesting because in this statement, Matt, they're trying to make it like... I think they've probably seen the buzz of the World Cup, and now they're trying to like do their own kind of version to say that WrestleMania like 11 is going to have the same kind of fee. It's going to be, it's going to be as good as any of these things. Do you feel sometimes, Matt, that WWF always looked to other sort of things that were going on in the now and the presence and around them, and try to take certain things from that and try to sort of involve it in their own product sometimes there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do, but who can blame them, really? They got to move with the times.
Yeah.
And in certain circumstances, a lot of the time, I'm quite pleased that they do, because I'm not too sure how well it would go down if like WrestleManias were still contained in those small arenas. I'm so glad that these days they're like setting new records and just like really putting on like one of the most spectacular shows that you can go see, really.
Absolutely, yeah. Highlight of the week, reports Meltzer, was from Action Zone on the 30th of the 10th. And this got really high praise. It was a match between Shawn Michaels and Diesel up against the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon. Meltzer reports, I thought it was the best WWF television match in well over 1 year. Diesel was KO'd by Michaels, super kick to the face, got one near fall after another on him before Diesel finally recovered, and as Michaels ducked, Diesel put on the big boot in Kid's face for the pin. So quite high praise there, Matt, and for these guys. And Action Zone, Matt, it's not something I don't even know if we can even get that on the network. Those Action Zone tapings, I'm not sure that's there, but that was a thing that was going on in around this time in '94. Like they were trying a new show, but yeah, Action Zone. Remember that one, eh, Matt?
Yeah, no. Well, it would be something interesting to find if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, November 21st now, 1994, and this is a fun fact. Portuguese wrestler here, who was, of course, is named as PJ Walker, and I mean, this guy, I kind of felt sorry for him, and it was a big deal because I'd seen him in other territories, but this was a classic case, Matt, where you see those guys like, who is it that had to play the Red Rooster, and the guy that was the Stalker, and you get those great famous wrestlers, and then they get given gimmicks like this. Well, Meltzer reports got something of a push here because he got a Power Rangers type outfit, and he may also be called Aldo Montoya. Sorry, what am I talking about? Aldo, is it Montoya? I don't know if you remember him, but he was like a guy who was dressed in like almost. It looked like who Just Incredible used to be. When he had a mask on, it looked kind of similar to that, but boy, was a hell gimmick to play that one.
When you were talking about Power Ranger-esque gimmicks, I was thinking of Al Snow.
Yeah, well, yeah, he copped that, didn't he, later down the line? That wasn't good. Okay, so Shawn Michaels and Diesel were shaking hands with fans coming into the ring at the taping. This is before Survivor Series, acting as if they were going to turn face with everybody. Michaels worked squash matches, but only tagged in for the finish. So yeah, those two were working with one another. Now at Survivor Series, we have the joy of yet another Survivor Series style match, which of course involves Diesel around this time. Now, Matt, did you get to see any of this one from this match, or was this one that you missed out on?
No, I didn't actually see all of this one, so I'm going to rely on you a little
Yeah,
bit.
no
through
worries.
the,
Well,
guidance through
yeah, no worries. Well.